Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 2. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Plus Pro Definitive Edition Ultimate Edition New Super Duper Smash Bros. Ultimate for Nintendo Switch 2 and Knuckles. Yeah. That's basically what the next game should be. What we have with Smash Ultimate now is more than we could have ever expected before the game was announced, and they deserve a lot of credit for making the game as great as it is. Obviously, this game still has issues that, in my opinion, need to be addressed, and we'll go over that in this video. But before we do that, I want to address something that I find really annoying about anyone talking about the potential new upcoming Smash game that people have been doing since Brawl. All this talk about which characters and which content should be cut. Why are you advocating for this? Why do you always put that energy out there? That you are perfectly okay with seeing various characters or features cut from the series, when the entire bloody point of a sequel should be to be better than the one that came before it? I'm so tired of this conversation. It seems like certain groups of fanboy gamers are perfectly fine with getting less over time for some reason. And y'all need to stop. This is why these companies continue to rake you over the coals over and over again. For once, this didn't happen with Smash Ultimate. They included every past character and had vastly more content than the previous game, exactly how it should have been happening since the series' inception. And that's why I think if they try to make a brand new Smash game from the ground up, they will do the regression again. So instead, I think the best case scenario is for them to just take what they have with Ultimate, fix some of its glaring flaws, spruce it up, add more characters, add a great new single player mode, and continue to add more characters like they have been since they started DLC in Smash 4. If, for whatever reason, they still can't return certain third-party characters, then you can put your fanboyism to good use for a change and bitch at whatever companies won't let it happen until they do.
Savvy.
I'll talk about characters more in a bit, but yeah, that's basically what this video will be about. Smash Ultimate 2, or whatever, with some extras. First, let's get the boring part out of the way. The technicals. No, not that guy, the technical aspects of the game. Obviously, the biggest and most important thing they need to do is fix the online. Smash uses peer-to-peer connections, but they really gotta get some dedicated servers with rollback or something to mitigate the disaster that is playing this game online. Why I continue to torture myself with this game on stream every Monday is beyond me, but it's still fun regardless, I guess. GSP should be abandoned because it seems stupid, and I never see anyone praise this system anyway. Quick play should be divided into regular quick play and ranked. I don't participate in ranked modes generally, so I don't know how it should work exactly, but if you think you do, feel free to mention it in the comments. The biggest rework I would give is to arenas. As arena hosts, we really don't have much control over how things are run. For example, there is no option for the arena host to be the only one who can pick the stage, which would be really useful for streamers and online tournament organizers. There is no ping or connection status display, so it's nearly impossible to know who is causing significant lag. There is no option to actually ban players from the arena without outright blocking them from your Switch entirely. As a streamer, I'd like to be able to make it impossible for a round to start without me spectating the match. For free-for-alls, there should be an option to have the bottom 3 get booted from the arena instead of a maximum of 2, to prevent teaming and targeting players in last. In addition, I would like an option to have a no contest result if the game times out, and then everyone gets put to the back of the line. When there are more people waiting to get into the arena when it's full, there should be a queue that's visible to the host. It should let you swap characters while spectating another match, and without leaving the line. Surely the Switch 2 can handle stuff like this. Right? There are so many ways arenas could be improved, and probably many more ways I can't think of right now, but what about other technical aspects of the game? One thing that I've thought about for a while would be to make the game run at 120 FPS instead of 60. This would give the game a much smoother appearance, make hitboxes more precise and accurate, and make input reactions slightly faster. The only issue I can think of against this is that there are many displays out there that do not support 120 FPS, like my own, so some players with fancy monitors will have a slight advantage. I don't know. Maybe it won't be a significant enough advantage to worry about. But if there's any reason that 120 FPS would be bad for this game that I don't know about, let me know in the comments. Obviously, the Switch 2 would also be able to give us better graphics. However, I think this is a non-issue. It could look the same graphically as it does now for all I care. if it meant much faster load times. That's one thing that has always annoyed me about the Switch in general, and in this game, watching and recording replays always takes like 5 to 10 seconds to load each one, which also applies to playing each match as well. Cut those load times down and I think everyone will be happy. Now, let's go over some of the other changes related to the game's content. I would want the game to have some overall rebalancing and mechanics changes. The biggest problem the game currently has is the input buffer system, which utterly ruins so many moments in the game, especially when you're playing online and dealing with input delay and other nonsense. It's such an unnecessarily frustrating experience, and I see clips of even pro players getting screwed over from this from time to time. I would reduce the input buffer system all the way down to 1 frame, maybe 2 if it's 120 FPS, or make it so that you can only buffer an input if you are holding the buttons down. Or both maybe, I don't know. You can make it a toggle in the options, which they should have done a long time ago. I think this would alleviate a lot of the downright unnecessary frustration this game has caused. Another source of frustration this series has had since the very first Smash game is the grab command being shield plus A. We've had enough buttons on our controllers since forever ago for this to be unnecessary. Yes, I know Z is the dedicated grab button of sorts, but it's always been a shortcut of shield plus A, when it should be a dedicated separate command. I've had the Z button do things that it shouldn't do occasionally, such as mid-air, when I'm trying to do a tether but they use an air attack instead. If it was its own separate command, this would never happen. Also, this could make it faster to use jab out of shield, which are surprisingly vulnerable moves when you whiff a full jab sequence, so I don't think this would be too much of an OP inclusion. Speaking of shields, do you guys want perfect shielding back? I think I know a way they can bring it back alongside parrying without ruining the meta. Basically, all perfect shielding would do is reduce the amount of damage your shield takes by a little. Some moves like Bowser's down B or Ganondorf's up tilt would still break a perfect shield in one hit, if that's what they're designed to do, of course. But for anything else, this would allow you to reduce the pressure on your shielding if you time it right. Also, can we do something about shield poking? This is like the most inconsistent mechanic I've ever seen. Either remove it outright or make it only work on shields that are below a certain percent. Oh yeah, I think counters should work similarly to perfect shielding. You should have to time your counter properly if you want to actually get a KO with it. Otherwise, knockback and damage would be greatly reduced. This would make it so players can't rely on them as a cheap crutch, and it would reduce the ridiculous advantage these moves have against slower power characters. This sounds like an overall nerf, but since it would require you to time the counter properly, they would activate slightly faster because they do currently have like 6 startup frames. Feel free to let me know if this is a bad idea in the comments. I may or may not be biased against the characters that have these types of moves, just saying. I would also change air dodging slightly. Instead of a continuous motion like they have it now, if you do a directional air dodge, your character would hover a bit in place before continuing to move. Kinda like melee, but not quite. But it would allow you some more control and less end lag to ruin your recovery. I don't know. Maybe an unnecessary thing if they fix the buffer system anyway. There's a few more things I would change to rebalance the meta a bit. For one, I don't like how much stronger dash attacks are in this game because they're among the easiest attacks to hit your opponent with. Why am I KOing someone with Pikachu's dash attack at 120%? That should never happen. Maybe this is subjective, but I like it more when you have to either take a major risk or get a little creative to earn a KO. Similarly, some characters' throws are way too powerful. Those are boring KOs. Obviously, if these moves were nerfed across the board, there could be buffs in other areas to make the game more interesting. Another issue is moments like this. Yeah, I think this game could use some hitbox tightening. I think if they are able to make the game run at 120 FPS, this would not seem to make it that much more difficult to hit others because the game would be overall more reactive and precise than before. For final smashes, I did not like the way they were changed in Ultimate. It was way more fun being able to fly freely as Supersonic or being able to control Giga Bowser. It seems like they tried to change it to make final smashes more competitively viable, but they should just stop trying to do this because final smashes will never be competitively viable. Just make them more fun instead.
The game is fun. If it's not fun, why bother?
Now, let's talk about the stages. One obvious improvement the game would have due to having more horsepower on the Switch 2 is a more robust stage creator with more options, features, and the ability to make more complex and better looking custom stages. I always felt like this was super restrictive in every game it's been featured in, so I never used it much. For all existing stages, there was one thing they did that I thought was a major downgrade in Smash Ultimate. When you pick an Omega version of a stage in Smash 4, each one was a little different, and in my opinion, it was better this way. It allowed for different interactions and a wider variety of unique, mostly fair stages, and some funny janks sometimes, which was always amusing. I want this to come back, and these unique stages can also be used for the Battlefield forum. Also, since there are Battlefield forums, why not also have small Battlefield and big Battlefield variations of each? Along with each of these variations, some stages have multiple stages that alternate throughout. Why not let us pick just one of these for the full round? For example, the part of Halberd where you fight on the bow of the ship, or the tilting third part of Castle's Siege. Or how about that final destination stage from World of Light that has the 4 platforms? Or some of the other unique boss stages in the game. I mean, come on, the more options, the better, I say. On that note, add a 4th taunt since there's 4 directions. The more variety of disrespect, the better. While we're on the topic of options, let's talk about that specifically. Please, for the love of God, let me turn the screen shake off. That shit hurts my eyes, for real. Also, please let me turn the crowd cheering and chanting off. They're so damn annoying and add nothing to the game, and this has been annoying since Smash 64. There are more options I would like to see, but those are the big 2 for me personally. I'd like to be able to reduce the colored launch smoke so it's less obstructive. Also, for stages with foreground, we should be able to have an option to see the character's outlines through it. Another option for player profiles is to be able to strike a certain amount of characters from the random pool, as well as add me characters to your random pool. I like to use random a lot, so I'd like to be able to customize it a little. That would be nice. Also, replays. Please let us save replays of Squad Smash and single-player modes. If there was a technical limitation preventing this, the Switch 2 should fix that. Right? Also, why the hell is there a replay limit? Even when you have extra storage installed, and why won't you tell me what the limit is? Come on, Nintendo. Also, let us delete multiple replays at a time, and get rid of this stupid controls display by default. Makes this shit so annoying. Alright, there we go. Got all the little boring things out of the way. Now onto the real stuff. What kind of single-player mode could be added now that we got more console horsepower and a great base of a game to build upon? No, not Subspace 2. That shit's lame. The only reason people like Subspace so much is because it's the only thing in the entire genre and they have nothing to actually compare it to. But what I would do is take some of the design of that mode's levels as an inspiration and instead create randomized dungeons of sorts. You start out with nothing, go through them, collect spirits and power-ups, and try to maximize your stats while trying not to die, avoiding obstacles and hazards as well as spawning in fighters, and try to make it to the end of several gauntlets of these things, each of which has a boss at the end. They could even bring back all the missing bosses from Brawl, including Taboo and the Master Core from Smash 4 as some of the bosses, because why not? And for the dungeons themselves, they could even bring back parts of Melee's Adventure Mode exclusive stages, Brawl's Subspace stages, and maybe even some of the Smash Run stuff from 3DS into the randomized dungeons. But yeah, this would be super hard, and if you get KO'd, it's back to the beginning. But you get to keep some of what you found along the way. Yes, I'm describing a roguelite mode. It would be perfect for Smash if done correctly. I believe Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 did something like this, and that made me want to buy the game, but I never did it though. So basically, a randomly generated subspace-like mode with roguelite elements. Story? Nah, who cares. Just gameplay and fan service. That's more important to the series in general in my opinion. I don't think it's impossible for there to be an actually decent story in Smash Bros, but I don't think Nintendo is capable of making it, so just focus on the fan service. Speaking of which, undo all the censorship. Just do it. More on this later. I could even make a development and financial argument for this mode too. There's a reason this kind of game mode is so popular with indies. It takes less time and requires less content to bloat the amount of time spent developing assets and levels because you're meant to go through them multiple times. But if you do put a little effort into it and create something that has tons of variation, it can last a long, long time for players. And I think if this is put together right, it can give people that Melee Adventure Mode itch and the Brawl Subspace Mode itch at the same time, while introducing tons of new stuff as well. Beyond that though, Boss Rush Mode should have been a thing a long time ago. Brawl had one, why doesn't Ultimate? Yes, I know Sephiroth's Classic Mode is like that, but we should be able to do it with any character we want. Lastly, let us replay the Master Hand stage in World of Light. I mean, come on, that was the coolest shit in the game. Now for the most important part that you've probably all been waiting for, the characters. I have ideas on how existing character could be improved, but that's an entire video on its own. Let me know if you'd be interested in that sort of thing. The TLDR is, separate clones or echoes more. Give them some differentiating moves. Give certain characters different forms to use different sets of special moves that were cut from previous Smash games, as well as new forms that have new moves. Keep on adding characters as DLC as well. Allow for more than 8 skins per character, as well as add premium skins for characters as DLC. If there are paid premium skins, they could make quite a lot of money from that, and it's kind of absurd to think they haven't done it already aside from the Miis, which most people don't seem to care as much about. Maybe then some of the new characters could be free updates, at least the ones no one asked for, like Min Min, while they make money off the skins. And remember when I said they should undo the censorship earlier? Well, I know there are some people out there that claim to like the redesigns, so if you had more than 8 skins per character, there you go. Everything could be available. No, I don't care about the age rating. Fuck off. No compromises. The goal is to make the game the best it could possibly be, and if it remains censored, it will never be the best it could possibly be. But there's one thing that's more important when it comes to characters in this series that needs to change. Assist trophies. Assist trophies were a terrible idea. You spent all this time programming and designing these characters to have their own models, frame data, and movesets and everything, and you're telling me we can't use them? And we're supposed to just be okay with that? No. Just no. Take every single assist trophy that can work as a playable character and make them playable characters. All of them. Waluigi, Knuckles, Shadow, Crystal, Guile, Isaac, Lyn, Black Knight, Skull Kid, Midna, Girahim, Takamaru, Alucard, Akira, Bomberman, Grey Fox, Rodan, Dylan, Samurai Goro, Shovel Knight, Zero. Yes, even frickin' Springman. Maybe some others I'm forgetting. I've always hated assist trophies, and this change would make it so much better, even if it means removing the item in general. That's one cut I can get behind at least. Hell, even some of the Pokemon from Pokeballs could make some great fighters like Zoroark, Alolan Raichu, Gardevoir, and more. Even if only some of these become converted into actual playable fighters, it would make the game much better. As for other characters that should be in Smash, that's also for another video. I made an old one if you're interested. It's pretty cringe and bad and cringe, but it's there. But if they do announce a new Smash game, that's when I'll do a remake of sorts. But anyway, with a roster like this, and with everything I've lined out in this video, I think it would be the best way to make the next Smash game the best it could possibly be. And if you disagree with me, you're a racist scrub who can't beat the Smoky Prog. Just kidding. Let me know if you have any ideas on what you would do for the next Smash game. What kind of modes would you like to see? Do you have any other ideas for the current Smash characters? Are you one of the wrong ones who would cut half the roster? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more mid content. I occasionally put out silly Smash montages that may interest you, and I stream Smash every Monday night at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and have other content like top 10 moments in The Legend of Zelda. You can also follow me on the X Twitter where I post nothing, or catch my content on Rumble or Odyssey. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.